I told you guys this a million times. I want this to be the #1 college football community here on YouTube. That means that when you come up with ideas, I'm going to break them down and turn them into one-off videos. And that's exactly what I'm doing today. So seriously, if you have an idea, make sure that you hit the comment section or email me or whatever it is. But somebody recently said, do a video talking about USC and what are realistic expectations going into 2024. Okay, so let's define what a winning season is for the Trojans as they enter the Big Ten. Real quickly, if you're new to the channel, what up? I'm Cole Thompson, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, make sure that you hit the ring notification, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, mortal enemies, best of bros, Big Ten fans, college football aficionados, USC faithful everywhere about this channel, because we're on the race to become the #1 YouTube show talking about our favorite sport. I'm on the race to become the #1 YouTuber talking college football. But more importantly, I want this to be the #1 college football community here on YouTube. Follow me on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Mr. Cole Thompson. And if you want to be a part of the Monday mailbag series, have a one-off video, whatever questions you have, email me, ColeThompsonWriting@gmail.com, or follow me on social media, slide in the DMs. What's a winning season for USC going into 2024? This is a really simple concept, but let's go back and look at where USC was for the last 2 years. Offensively, they have been about as fundamentally sound as you could want. It is literally a pipeline machine to the NFL. And regardless of how you want to phrase it, Lincoln Riley knows a thing or two about going with quarterbacks. In fact, my opinion is if I had a son that was 5-star phenom and I wanted him to eventually be the #1 overall pick, I'm going to send him to the guy that has got 3 #1 picks, 3 different Heisman Trophy winners. Oh, and on top of all of that, he also has a 4th that just got paid over $200 million and has led his team to the Super Bowl. Lincoln Riley speaks quarterbacks. That's not a problem. He also knows how to draft and develop really good wide receivers, whether that be Jordan Addison coming on in for a year. Now you go ahead and add Zachariah Branch. They got Deuce Alexander there. Offensively, they have been fine. The offensive line, there's still some question marks, but that could come with experience now being a part of the Big Ten. It's always been defense. Defense has been the hindrance point for this program for the last 2 years. They get a Heisman Trophy winner. They have absolutely phenomenal numbers in 2022. They're supposed to be in the college football playoff, and they finished with like the 128th ranked defense. And then a year later, they keep and they hold on to Alex Grinch. And then with the Heisman Trophy winners, some really good names coming on in via the portal, they end up going 7-5 and completely faltering apart in the second half of games, and they just don't find their rhythm. Well, now they lead the Pac-12, and now they go to the Big Ten. And the Big Ten, the thing with this conference is they're built like tree trunks. They're built like Vikings. They're built like men who are supposed to be in the middle of the woods like lumberjacks on any given Thursday afternoon in negative 20-degree weather. And that's at programs like Iowa, and that's at programs like Minnesota, and that's at programs like even Rutgers, and that's at programs like Michigan State. They're just a different breed out there in terms of what you look for in terms of offensive line and defensive linemen. And I don't know if USC is ready for that. But I will say the one thing that does stand out for this team and has stood out for a while, they arguably got the best hire of the entire offseason. Regardless of position coach, regardless of head coach, regardless of any new athletic director, D'Anton Lynn coming on in will demand excellence from his team. And you kind of hear from people that transferred away from USC that now are in the SEC or in the Big Ten elsewhere, and they're saying, well, practices were a little different compared to what they are here, and game days were a little bit different than what they are here. D'Anton Lynn spent years in the NFL crafting up defensive linemen and getting them prepared for Sunday football. You think for 1 second that he is going to be content with just a willy-nilly practice out in Los Angeles? You're out of your freaking mind. This is going to be a dude that might end up being the reason why USC is a little bit better than advertised on defense. And it's not like they don't have good players. That's the part that I think gets a lot lost in translation when it comes to talking USC. They have good players. They didn't have great developers getting them prepared for the next level. Bear Alexander is an exceptional defensive lineman. Elijah Hughes is an exceptional defensive tackle. I even think Mason Cobb, even though he vastly underachieved last year, is a good linebacker. I think when you look at John Humphrey, he's a good overall cornerback. I think when you look at guys who were young players on this roster last year, such as Christian Pierce, they could end up being great. They just need to be developed properly. And until you actually see that, well, that's where the problem resides. Offensively, Miller Moss, Diego Paiva, whoever is the starting quarterback, I don't worry about that. And I don't even worry when they play against, say, an Oregon, or they play against an Iowa, or they play against a Minnesota for that matter. I don't think that you have to really be concerned about that. They also added in a couple of really good recruits. 4-star Cameron Fountain out of Booker Washington in Atlanta. They brought over Xavier Jordan, the wide receiver out of Chatsworth, California, Sierra Canyon. They also bring over Marcellus Williams from St. John Bosco. So they got some guys. They do. The problem is that how quickly can this team all mesh together in the in the Big Ten? And also, let's talk about this real fast. What if this defense does take a little bit of time to get its feet underneath it? The good news is that they actually have some games where they kind of can expect one thing or another. LSU, week 1, Las Vegas, that's going to be one of the best games of the year, in my opinion, because of, even though people are talking about it, well, it's a neutral site location, it's two teams that basically both deserve a little bit of flack if you think about it. USC had a Heisman Trophy winner and they couldn't get to the college football playoff because of their defense. And, well, LSU had a Heisman Trophy winner and an exceptional offense, and they couldn't get to the college football playoff because of their defense. So I'm going to be completely unbiased here and say both these teams have a lot to prove week 1 on a neutral site. Utah State at Michigan. Michigan's still going to be breaking in its quarterback, so I'm not sure that you're saying that this is just a drum it up and call it a day for the Wolverines. It could, but it also could be a moment where you kind of separate yourself when it comes to the quarterbacks. Maybe Miller Moss, who balled out in the Holiday Bowl against Louisville, separates himself when it comes to Diego Paiva. Or maybe Paiva builds that relationship with Zachariah Branch and he says, well, now this is going to be our starting quarterback. After that, you kind of have a little bit more of a season schedule with Wisconsin, Penn State, at Minnesota. And then you close out the year with 3 games that I think are all winnable. Rutgers, Washington, Nebraska, UCLA. 4 games, my apologies. Then you close it out, of course, with Notre Dame. So what is a winning season for the USC Trojans in 2024? To me, it's not go to the college football playoff. I think if they were to sneak their way in, which I'm not taking entirely out of context, I think that they could end up being really, really prominent. What I think is a winning season for the Trojans, number one, shutting everybody up, including yours truly, that, oh, defensively, we're not going to be good. The only way that you know that defensively you're not going to be great is if you don't allow D'Anton Lynn to take full control. And if anybody wants to know what that's like, Lincoln Riley, ask Jimbo Fisher when Bobby Petrino came marching on into College Station. Oh, offensive mind versus offensive mind, and they didn't see eye to eye, and eventually, well, now Mike Elko's calling the plays out there. And you also have to realize you have a brand new athletic director in Jen Cohen that wasn't the one that hired you. No, she hired actually Kalen DeBoer, who was a couple of plays away from a national championship victory last season. So you got to give full control to this defense. That's number one. Number two, you are better than advertised when it comes to your physicality. People are going to talk about what the weak points are for USC, how they don't really have a great culture, they don't really have a good identity, and that's fine, and that they're soft, and that they're basically Charmin brand tissue paper level soft. Just prove that. Prove that that's not actually accurate, that you are going toe-to-toe with a team like a Minnesota, like a Rutgers, like a Wisconsin, and that you are able to pound for pound deliver the same type of crushing blows. You're not just giving up the right to the SEC, to the Big Ten. You're not just playing second fiddle. And then defensively, nobody's ever going to ask USC to be a top 20 unit in college football. Could they? Yeah, they could. D'Anton Lynn last year got UCLA to be the best defense in the Pac-12. Pound for pound, the best defense in all of college football on some Saturdays. You could, but with Lincoln Riley's offense, with the players and the skill set that you have, a wide receiver, tight end, and even running back with the addition of Woody Marks from Mississippi State, you don't need a top 25 unit. You need a top 60 unit. A top 60 unit 2 years ago would have sent Caleb Williams to the playoffs. A top 50 unit last year would have at least kept you in the conversation going all the way up until week 12, that maybe you would have gotten your shot at the Pac-12 title. You maybe wouldn't have gone to the playoffs, but you certainly would have at least been in the hunt for a better bowl game and definitely at least a shot of going to Las Vegas for the final time. You're not asking for adaptability completely revamped overnight. You're asking for stability. You get stability. You show that you're not Charmin soft. And also, the attitude is going to translate from Pac-12 West Coast brand football to now nitty-gritty middle of the country mean machine type of brand, I think that's a winning season. 8-4, 9-3. That's probably what you're looking at if all of those things happen. 10-2 on the outside looking in. And then at 10-2, if you're high enough in the rankings, well, maybe you'll be the 13 team or maybe the 12 seed in the college football playoff. Right on the outside looking in, but definitely maybe feeling a lot better about your situation going into 2025, which again, you'll still have a lot of this talent back for another season. But let me know in the comment section down below what defines a winning season for USC. Is it going to the Big 12, Big 10 championship? Is it just showing that you're not going to be the lackluster doorstep in the conference? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments section. Hit subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure also that you hit everything on our social media apps. If you want to go ahead and be a part of our Mailbag Monday series, email me, ColeThompsonWriting@gmail.com, or follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. Slide in the DMs. Ask me a question. Until next time, USC fans. Until next time, college football fanatics. I'm Cole Thompson. Later. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. That's awesome. Thank you so much. But before you leave, make sure that you hit subscribe. And if you want to check out any of our other great work, make sure you click on one of the videos here. Am I pointing at the right spot? I'm not entirely sure. I'm really not.